everybody. Welcome to the show tonight. I would love to introduce to you my friend Lon from Phantoms and Monsters Radio, who has come back again for a second round in the swamp. Thank you very much. And we're going to be talking all things paranormal, encrypted, and bumps in the night, and whatever else comes up. We'll think of something to talk about anyway. So welcome, Lon. Thank you for coming back. And
no problem. Thanks for having me, Shari.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's been a long time we've been knowing each other, so it's a nice.
Yeah, since I guess since the days I was doing Beyond the Edge Radio.
Yeah, from Para X.
That started back in 2011, something like that.
Was it that? No, I thought it was before. I thought it was like 2006, 2007.
Well, I didn't join Eric and Sean until 2011. So
okay.
Yeah.
Because I knew I had been listening to the show for a while, and then you came on, and then they, everybody kind of knew everybody. So, and I just really enjoyed it, and I don't know, we just kind of became friends, I guess, via the radio. Never saw what the other one looked like, but
if tonight, if anybody in the audience or anybody on the chat has questions, I'm more than willing to answer them best I can. So
there you go. Yeah, I opened it up. Please put any questions in caps so that I see them. Otherwise, I will skip right over them. Let's see. So why don't you let everybody know what you were just telling me, what you got coming up, your little Chicago trip and all that fun stuff. And
okay, well, as a lot of people know, is we've been involved with this Chicago winged humanoid phenomenon now since really 2011. But it really started picking up in 2017. So some of the members on the team had been involved with a few productions as far as the Mothman, Lake Michigan Mothman, or what's been going on in Chicago. But we were contacted by Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix about 6 months ago, and they asked us if we would like to do an episode on Unsolved Mysteries. So so I'll be going out there in the middle of June. Manuel Navarrete and Tobias Whalen will be there as well. We're the three on the team that have been really looking into most of this. And we're going to be filming the episode. So hopefully it'll cover a lot of stuff. It's just so much you can cover in an hour show, but we'll see what's going on. But I've been talking to the production people, and they seem really intent on getting a good production, a good presentation of this. So that's great.
That's awesome. That is really good, because I know you work really hard at it. You've been doing this most of your life. You've been, following this kind of stuff since your own personal experience, and and the fact that you've been able to make a career out of it is, says a lot for your fortitude of sticking with it,
Well, career is one thing. I'm not making a whole lot of money off of it, but I'm doing it. I'm working at it a lot
yet.
Yeah. This isn't one venture that is a money-making venture unless you're lucky enough to be able to get certain individuals to keep you on the radar a lot. There are a few people that write a lot of books and do a lot of productions and such, and they're on all the time. But and they're making a living. But for the most part, the paranormal is not really a money making venture for the most part.
Well, it kind of had its. I think it kind of hit its peak back in the early to mid 2000s when Ghost Hunters came out, and before you knew it, it was one show after another just rolling into each other. And I'll
be honest with you, I don't watch any of them. I just don't watch any of them.
I did back in the day, but I cut the cable cord several years ago, and I don't even watch regular TV anymore. I couldn't even tell you what's on regular TV anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather, for posting that.
I just, you know, the cryptid shows have been pretty prevalent now for the last 5 or 6 years. But they mostly concentrate on Bigfoot for the most part, of course, and that's where they make their money at. So, and for, as far as advertising,
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see. I mean, you know, of course, now with Netflix having Unsolved Mysteries, they don't really have to worry about the advertising revenue.
Right. It's good to know they picked that back up, because wasn't that a Discovery Channel show? I think
at one time. I mean, it was originally. I think it originally started on NBC when Robert Stack hosted the show, and they had a couple other people.
Didn't
Farina and Leonard Nimoy did a little bit of it, and they had a few other people. But they've been on Netflix running like 4 show seasons for the past 3 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know exactly what they have planned. All I know is that Netflix budgeted the episode, and so that's where we're at.
Cool. And I think it's cool they're bringing you up to Chicago to go check that out. Okay, we got a question. First one up, Miss Linda here. What's the weirdest story you've heard?
That's
I've read a lot of your blogs.
That is actually a hard question, because I've heard so many weird things over the years, and I've seen a few things. And you know, the only thing I can say at this point is nothing really surprises me anymore. The type of phenomena that pops up and then needs to be investigated, it just varies. I mean, the whole paranormal genre, from ghosts and spirits, UFOs, cryptids, and so forth, it's never going to be a moot thing. I mean, it's going to continue on. Maybe they'll prove something, it'll kind of go to the wayside, but something else will pop up. Yeah, that's why this whole Chicago winged humanoid, or what the press called the Chicago Mothman, is so interesting, because it's a long time group of sightings that have been going on since 2011, even before that. But we get old sightings all the time from people. But at this point right now, we're at 160 reported sightings or encounters that we feel are legitimate. And I've got I do have the interactive map, and if you go to the website phantomsandmonsters.com, you'll see the link for that, or you scroll down on the desktop version of that, it'll be down below, so you'll see the map.
Do you still send out the newsletter you used to do?
Yeah, what happened was
that permanently or temporarily.
Yeah, I stopped that permanently, because I was doing it for free for a lot of years. Yeah. I didn't have really much overhead. I had a few things I had to pay, but Google used to have what they called FeedBurner. It was they provided free email service, and I mean, I was sending out anywhere from 50 to 60,000 emails per day. Wow. And they stopped it. I mean, they did, just like any other thing a company like Google or a media company or an internet company will do. And they just got rid of it. So there were a lot of alternatives, but the cost was just not prohibitive. If I wanted to send out the same amount of emails, or even half of what I sent out before, it would be costing me anywhere from $300 to $400 a month.
Yeah, so, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just decided I wasn't going to do it anymore.
Yeah. I knew it had been quite a while, but I couldn't remember. I remember you had said something about you were stopping, but I didn't remember, was it permanently or temporarily? And then I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, actually, I haven't really seen one in quite a while. The only time I try to catch, I don't always catch a show live, because I know you're on Friday nights, and a lot of times I'm on at about the same time. but I'll go in and I'll watch the replay later on that
Right.
evening. And
Right.
like with a lot of people, I don't really get to catch their live streams that much. Is usually I'm listening after the fact. And so just all different kinds of stuff over the years. I mean, yeah, it's I mean, I've lived in a haunted house and I've seen ghosts, and and I've had people tell me that's malarkey, and it's like, when you experience it for yourself, you will change your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
All it,
It's
all
all.
it
It's
takes is a
always.
personal experience to change your mind.
It's always interesting to confront a skeptic who's had an encounter, because their frame of mind and their thought on the phenomena changes instantly.
Oh yeah,
And that has happened a few times with people I know.
yeah,
I have a friend who just has been investigating Bigfoot and cryptids for about 30 years now, and he had his first encounter about 3 months ago. And it just cemented in his mind that this phenomena is real. So when I had my encounter, it was, I honestly didn't know what I was encountering at first, but and I wasn't really into the cryptids. I was mostly doing hauntings and such, because I am an intuitive, and I would go into people's homes and do other type of work with them.
right. That's what Heather said.
But
Yeah, she grew up in a haunted house too.
right, so
Yeah,
I would. But when that happened, then I became very interested into what I experienced, and I started investigating it. And I took notes and lots of reports off the internet for years. And finally, I was writing for a website here when I was living down in Maryland. And they told the guy who ran the website, said, you ought to start a blog. And back then, that's when the blog thing was really started getting popular. So that
yeah,
was like 2005. So that's how I started Fams of Monsters.
yeah. I knew it had been a while, so
Yeah.
because that was
Yeah,
about.
I've
It
been
was
doing
right
this
around
17
that
years
time.
now.
Yeah, right around that time, around 2004, 2005, when the internet radio stuff kind of started taking off.
Yeah.
And that's when I found it. And with me, it was just boredom. Hunting on the internet, seeing what there was, because there wasn't really a whole lot of stuff back then. Or what there was not very good quality as far as production value goes. Um,
Well,
and I started
the
digging
ghost
around, and that's
hunters.
when I found Para X. So
Yeah, the ghost hunters TV show really sparked a lot of this. And I mean, you can definitely see how the internet, um, the interest on the internet with paranormal in general really picked up when that show started. And and like but you're right though, it has waned to a point. A lot of it in the past couple of years has to do with budget and unable to go out and produce shows because of the COVID thing and a few other things.
yeah,
And what they look for now, and I've talked to several production companies over the years, more recent, the last couple of years, and what they normally do now is that they advise people who want to do the show on their own, put the capital up, and then they'll buy it from you.
that's how they do it.
And then when they buy it, then they'll make some changes to it. But that's normally how it's done now. Now, of course, with Unsolved Mysteries and a few other shows, they don't do that. They've got a budget. But the paranormal production has changed over time.
Yeah, it's a lot. I know the last time I watched something that was on, I couldn't even tell you. I caught it online. I couldn't tell you where it came from. But I know that while the production value had gotten better, it
Yeah.
was still it wasn't like watching the regular cable network TV shows we used to watch back in the mid to late 2000s up to 2010 or so,
Yeah.
with Ghost Hunters and all that stuff, because it was their production value was because they were a regular show. And of course, most of us now know how they actually did those shows.
Sure.
And a lot of what they did wasn't really what was going on, but
Yeah, those early shows.
They got to do the show, so you got
those early shows really lacked a lot of sophistication for the most part.
Yeah.
When they, if you actually tailor the show to what really happens, it's like watching paint dry. So they have
right.
they had to spice it up a bit for the audience and for the advertisers. But
Exactly.
honestly, that's what kind of turned me off on a lot of. Now I've done some productions before, and unfortunately, a lot of time when you put in all the time to have that done, a lot of it just doesn't get put on the end reel of it, and and then they kind of embellish on a lot of things as well to try to make it more interesting.
Right,
So
right.
I don't normally take a lot of that, a lot of what you see on TV and any of these productions with a whole lot of, reliability.
I mean, back in the beginning when a lot of that first started, I was really into it because I had my own experiences, as a kid growing up. And so, yeah, I found it fascinating. Is the fact that, wow, they made a TV show about that and people
Right.
weren't laughing at them.
Right.
Because growing up, you learn to not really say anything because people would tease you about it.
Yeah.
The crazy chick over there.
Yeah, I used to do a
after a
lot of
while, they
behind.
all got to be so much alike that it's like you couldn't tell one show from another.
Right.
Or
I
at
used to
least I
do a
couldn't.
lot of behind the scenes stuff with some of these productions early on. And, there are a few of them that have kind of withstood the time thing and have that continued to be good. Somebody had mentioned the Dead Files with Amy and Steve, and they, that show at this point now is probably, I believe, the best show out there.
Yeah, that's a good show.
Yeah, and because of the way they do things, a lot of what they do, a lot of what she does in particular, as far as working cases and the interviews and everything else, it's a very similar to what I have done for years.
Yeah,
and I kind of respect what you do. And look, I know that show has taken a lot out of her. If the show is done right, it will take a lot out of you.
Just doing what I do and just reading the energy and reading cards, and here in the last 6 months, the mediumship has started waking up on me, and so now it's like it's very hit and miss. I never know when it's going to decide to zing, and suddenly they're in my ear talking to me. But it is very exhausting, and I know
it is.
Even when they first started, and I would watch, and I would always think, God, how could she do that week after week after week? That's got to be exhausting, because I knew how much energy it takes out of a person.
It does.
Just to try to because one is to focus in on it and be able to pull the information you need, but at the same time, you also have to put up enough barriers to protect yourself.
Well, the biggest problem I have is when I get involved with personal cases, with clearings, with hauntings, and anything that somebody may call me or my team in on that's just strictly paranormal or energy-based type of hauntings. It is very tiring, and I kind of take it personally. And when you do that, you're invested in it, and you definitely, it does take your toll. Somebody mentioned Amy Allen's leaving the show.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at Amy now compared to what it was years ago, she has aged. Now, I'm not saying it has everything to do with it, but you can tell that it has worked on her.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, when she first started out, She was a lot chunkier, I guess you could say, more of a meaty, well, strong looking woman. And the last time I watched the show, she had lost quite a bit of weight, and I know that a lot of it has to do with and the she just looked tired,
Yeah.
just watching it. It was like it's got to be, and I know it's her husband that works with her, goes in to clear the space and is with her when she's there.
Well, they're not married. I mean, they used to
Oh,
be, but
they used
they
to be.
aren't
They're
married.
not married
Yeah.
anymore.
No, they divorced over a decade ago. It's been a while,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna.
he remained on the show. Um, you know, but that is true. Mediumship, physical mediums, people who are empaths, and that they this type of work does work. I mean, does affect them physically and mentally. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
there's no doubt about that. I've known a lot of people over the years who do a lot of this work, and it does take its toll. It took its toll on me there for a couple of times,
yeah.
because I was remote viewing and doing other work in particular with folks. We were doing uh, clearings worldwide. I mean, a lot of, but I did a lot of that remote work will take its toll.
Yeah, I know there are several in the community here that are remote viewers that go in. A couple of them that work for the government as remote viewers.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it amazes me how they do that. I've not had that skill set pop up yet. Who knows when it might?
Well, I was fortunate enough to get trained.
Yeah,
And
see,
I was
that's
trained
just
by
it.
I was trained by somebody who used to work for MI6, and she was psychic as well. So she kind of took me under her wing. That's been about 12, 13 years ago, and
Yeah,
I learned how to become a viewer through coordinate remote viewing and scientific remote viewing, and through all the phases and stuff that are involved with that.
right,
So
because it takes a lot out of you to do something like
oh
that.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you're invading another space
and
in a
it
lot
can
of
get
respects.
dangerous too.
Oh yeah.
I've had
Um,
psychic attacks. I had two really bad psychic attacks over the year, and they were both physical attacks. This thing, I mean, these things attacked me thousands of miles away while I was involved in a remote
I
view.
was watching one of the readers that's kind of in our community here, who's pretty big. She's been out there since kind of the beginning when this all started. People started doing all of this, and she's a pretty powerful psychic. She channels,
Right.
she does remote views. I mean, it's amazing to watch her. And I was literally watching her do a live stream one night, and she went to go into someone just to see what their energy felt like, because she didn't the person was being chosen to take a government position, federally, and there was a lot of talk, both good and bad, about this person. And so she was like, one night she was on live stream, she said, well, let's go see if we can take a peek
Mm-hmm.
and just see if I can get a feeling for, what she's like, what this woman is like. And I literally saw her get thrown out of that remote viewing almost violently on
Mm-hmm.
air. I mean, it shook her, and she was like, I've never felt anything that dark in my life. I mean, she was freaked out. And I was like, holy crap, man. I knew things like that happen. I mean, I've talked to enough people that do it. I don't, but I know people who do. But then when to witness it firsthand, while she was live streaming, that was scary. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, you need to really have the right people around you when you're trying to do something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I know with my own skills, it's just I've been taking my time, a couple of steps at a time, a little at a time,
Yeah, it can get dangerous sometimes. And,
Yeah.
when you're doing a controlled remote viewing, you always have a monitor who's actually conducting the procedures. And if many times you have multiple viewers at one time that are actually
right.
working.
And it was like the night that she did this, she wasn't really trying to like get into the woman or anything. She just wanted to kind of like take a peek.
Right.
To get a feel for her, and was just, and she was like, whatever's surrounding her, is pretty powerful. And and so I was like, okay, I don't think I want that skill just yet. Maybe in a few years we can talk, but let's not go there yet. And then next thing I knew, suddenly I'm hearing them in my ear. I hear them in my left ear. Because I'll sit, a lot of times people will see me and I'm always like this on the screen. I had somebody ask me, why you always sit with your head sideways? Because that's where they talk. And it's like it's like a tuning fork. I got to get my head in the right position to hear them. It's weird. I don't know. Let's see. We had another question for you here. Some people.
What do you think of the techno gizmos some people are using now? Are they useful? Honestly, I don't use them. The only thing that I will use on occasion if I'm doing some live work, when I'm at a location or I'm working with the client, I will occasionally take a digital recorder with me. But other than that, these voice boxes, these ghost boxes and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
I just don't really. I just don't really have a good feel for those. I don't know if the science is correct or not.
Yeah, on one of the TV shows, and I don't remember which one it was, but it was like the first time I saw them with a little like Geiger meter thing that they were using to read the energy, and I was like, well, my husband uses one of those every day for his work because he worked on air conditioning and stuff like that. And I got 2 or 3 of them sitting in the house.
Right.
I never knew in a million years you could use it for ghost hunting. Never worked for me that way, but I did try after I saw it. It was like, okay, I got to give it a shot.
Somebody asked if I use cameras, ILS. No, I have on occasion, but I have learned that many of these energies can pick up on that, and it will become detrimental to an investigation. So I kind of wane away from using cameras personally. I have, when I work with other people, they may use it, but any type of meter, and I don't use any of that stuff. I rely on my own abilities and what I can sense. Over the years I have developed a personal, a personal way of detecting and being able to communicate with these energies. Like me, for instance, my mind's eye can pick up on an energy and kind of get an idea of what it actually looks like. And when if there is spirit energy around me, I start seeing colors in my mind's eye. In particular, like a pink and foam green like color.
Now you say that, and it was somebody, and it wasn't that long ago, and I can't remember if it was a guest on one of my streams or if it was somebody I was watching, but they were talking about reading auras. And
I can read auras.
I was asking them, and they said, well, at first I see it in my head. I don't physically see colored lights floating around the person. I see it in my head when I look at them. But as they developed the skill, then they were able to look at someone and kind of see a faint glow of color around them. Now, I've never been able to do that on a human, but I have been able to do it with a plant. I read something in a book years ago about if you sat and concentrated and looked at a plant long enough that after a little while you would see the life force around the leaves and everything. And so I tried it one day and it worked. It was like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Well, and it's been my experience that anything that's living has some type of degree of aura around it, or some type of, I don't necessarily know if that's the actual life force, but the energy around people does show up in certain colors. And many times I don't necessarily use the colors as determining what is going on, as opposed to the intensity of the aura itself. Some people can actually protect themselves by projecting the aura at a distance around their body, and I do try to teach people to do that. And that's what I use. Huh?
I didn't know you could do that. That's it.
Well,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, when people talk about using white light or golden light to protect themselves,
right?
The way to do that is to extend the aura, your personal aura around you, from your top of your head down around your body, and to try to extend it out as far as possible. I've been able to, in the past, not all the time, been able to help people project auras to protect themselves. But I, that's basically what I use for protection myself.
Right. No, and I mean, for protection, I usually will envision myself just kind of like standing in a column of light.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, as long as I'm in the column of light, I'm good to go. Mm-hmm. But I never thought about the fact that I'm projecting my aura at the same time to go out there. I'm still really new at a lot of this stuff. It's like I've been watching and listening to stuff for so many years that, without any real frame of reference, I guess you could say, that I feel like I'm relearning everything these last 2 years, which has been fascinating. And it's like, the more I learn, the more I want to learn. And it's all these different things. I see this.
I get people ask me.
I want to talk to them. So, yeah.
I get people ask me a lot. Well, can you teach me how to remote view? I'm a very bad teacher of this stuff. I have tried in the past. I was lucky enough to be able to learn how to do it, but as far as taking the whole thing and trying to instruct someone else how to do it, that just does not come easily to me now.
Right.
I guess some people are different. Some people have the ability to work with others as far as being able to teach them what to do, but I just have not been able to do that. And a lot of it I've had to learn on my own by give and take. So, I've been an intuitive. I knew I've been an intuitive since I was 9 years old. I didn't exactly know at that time what it was, but I did have things happen to me when I was younger. And as I grew older and I started getting involved with the paranormal back in the 70s, actually, back the early 70s, I was doing work back then. Back then when, someone would ask you, well, what are you doing? Well, what do you call it? I'm a paranormal investigator. Well, you never heard anything like that before.
Yeah.
Because people just did not talk about it. And of course, not being on the internet, no internet back at the time, it was all a word of mouth thing.
Yeah.
So, I was living back by then. I was living down in Maryland when I left school. And I was doing cases all up and down the East Coast, but particularly in Maryland, D.C., Pennsylvania, and maybe New Jersey.
I would imagine there's a lot of energy up in that area.
Oh, it is.
Just because
this is a hot area.
Yeah, just because of the location and history itself.
I live 12 miles east of Gettysburg, and I was raised in this area. So I spent a lot of time on that battlefield when I was a kid. I was kind of a history nerd anyway, but I've seen a lot of different things, experienced a lot of different things over time. And, that battlefield is where I really learned how to do a lot of this.
Well, I know just as a kid, I mean, when I was about 4 or so, I would hear a male voice talk to me. Think Darth Vader. That's what it sounded like. James Earl Jones, later on. But it was just this deep male voice that would talk to me, and I would talk back. And family would, somebody would walk by the room, they'd be like, "Who are you talking to?" I say, "God." And they go, "Okay." And just nobody, really did or said anything about it. Eventually it was declared, "Oh, well, she's got the gift," because that's what they called it in the family, but nobody explained what that meant or what to do with it, or anything along those lines. I think the scariest paranormal personal experience I had was I was like 9 or 10, I think. And I was home with we it was just me and my mom and my brother, who was a toddler at the time. And we lived in this apartment that was just haunted as hell. I mean, that place scared me. And one day I'm sitting in like one end of the room, which is the living room, and then the other end of the room was the kitchen. It was just like a long rectangular room. And I watched my mother open the refrigerator door to get something out of the refrigerator. And literally her body, you could see like something had just punched her in the chest and knocked her across the room and into the wall. I mean, we moved shortly after that. But yeah, that was freaky as hell because I witnessed it. I mean, I can still close my eyes and see that happen. It was just so wild. And my mom was very psychic, but she didn't discuss it. I think because it scared her in a sense, because she would only see visions of people dying. If they had like traumatic death, she would see a vision of it. And because of that, it kind of freaked her out. And so she didn't like to talk about it. She just didn't want to go there. Which, I get it. I mean, at the time we were in the middle of the Vietnam War, so living next to an Air Force base. So there was a lot of energy floating around there that probably didn't help that. But yeah, I mean, and over the years, just little things, kind of build up, and you don't really know what to do or think about it. You kind of blow it off like, no, I didn't see that, or that didn't just happen.
Well, my parents,
you get to the point where you finally just talk to yourself and say, okay, yeah, I did see that.
my parents, I'm quite sure, never had any idea what I was going through. And I never really mentioned it to them until I got older. And, but on one side of my family, on my father's side of the family, there were powwowers at that time. There, root conjuring and folklore medicine and such. And I knew all about that. I knew a lot of it. I was never trained. I never really got deeply involved with it. But I knew of some of the things that were part of it. I mean, most of it is religious based. Yeah. And I'm not a very religious person. But
well, it's like the Cajuns have the traiteurs, which is the same as a medicine man, or medicine woman.
And I've also studied Creole religion for years, and I've been involved with some cases down in the Caribbean, as well as some cases down in Florida and along the Gulf Coast. So I'm pretty knowledgeable about a lot of that stuff. But yeah, the root conjuring and the Appalachian folk medicine and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very.
And with I mean, we were Cajun, Scotch, Irish, Welsh descent.
Well, you're typically Appalachian,
so because very Celtic, very Gaelic. A lot of that.
Yeah. Well, most of the people that settled into Appalachia were Scots and Irish.
Exactly, and then we have a little bit of Cherokee mixed in to go with it.
Same with me.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like just it's like things you just kind of know, but you don't know, but you don't quite know how to tell somebody else. I can remember my husband and I were first together, and I would talk about, somebody would say something about seeing a ghost or this or that, and he would laugh, and I'd say, no, they're real. And he would get mad at me. He'd say, don't say that. And I say, I'm telling you, they're real and they don't exist. I'm like, yeah, they do. I've seen one, lived in a haunted house, believe what you want to believe. But once you go through it, you never go back. You know what you saw and you know what you experienced, and end of discussion. And it's funny because now he comes to me, and whatnot. And it's like, I think he's getting a kick out of all of this now, that he's able to he's able to communicate with me now into something that he did not believe in when he was alive. So go figure.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, and Amy had a kind of a question here. Yeah, I would say probably just somebody that lived on the land wherever you were at. There's a lot of spirits, a lot of energy that gets attached to the land, like Gettysburg, like Lon was just talking about. I mean, you go to places, especially battlefields. There are people over in Europe that talk about, you go to battlefields, you can see an entire war reenacted in front of your eyes. It's not really there. So
yeah, Gettysburg is really unique compared to a lot of other areas in the United States where there's been conflict, because it's got a very high bedrock. In fact, a lot of the bedrock is above ground level, and it's mostly granite and limestone, and it does record energy. And that land around the battlefield, or this whole area in South Central Pennsylvania, in particular, in general, does hold a lot of energy. We have a lot of cryptid and a lot of paranormal and UFO activity that happens in this part of the country. And, I have a couple people who I work with who are local as well. And we all see it. I mean, quite frankly, living around here, you're going to hear something. You're going to hear about some type of phenomena that maybe you're just not familiar with. But there is a lot going on around here.
We just here in the last few weeks, they had a big write-up in the local paper, and of course all the local radio stations picked up on it, put it out on their newsletters. There were some people who saw UFOs and got video evidence, pictures, videos. Of course, like most everything, it seems like it's just little blinking lights. You can't really tell. It's like, how come we can take such damn good pictures with everything else, but when it comes to this stuff, it's like the camera suddenly goes out of focus. You can't get a good shot of it. But they just had a big thing not too long ago about that. And I'm just at work hearing people talk, they're like, oh yeah, I've seen stuff in the sky. Like I was telling you earlier, my son and I kept seeing something kind of dancing around, but staying in the same spot, not really moving anywhere. But we finally figured out it was a drone over the hospital. Just, I don't know if it was just to keep the air around, because they do have helicopters that will fly in for emergencies. And so that's what, because I was like, what the hell would a UFO would be hanging out over the hospital for the last however many months? Same time every night, same place. Like either there's something going on in the hospital I maybe don't want to know about, or it's just a drone. So I'm trying to, I don't see any other questions. Good night, Andrea. Thanks for coming. Gotta go put the kids to bed. And I saw your cat climbing over your chair there a minute ago.
Yeah, the mascot. That's Vinny.
Yeah. I can't believe none of the animals are in here. Usually the minute I get on air, the cat shows up, the dog shows up. They all just kind of camp out around me. And we found a kitten like a year ago and just she took over. She's almost right about a year old now. She's getting pretty big. The dogs are terrified of her. She rules the roost.
Well, when I got Vinny, I had 2 dogs at the time, and they were scared to death of him because he was a hellion. I mean, he didn't like dogs, so but he's and he's a mouser too. God, in my original apartment we had a lot of mice. And he took care of it.
Handy.
yeah, he took care of that pretty easily.
I know when the cat I had for 16 years was just a great big old tomcat. I mean, big old 20-pounder. And he would catch birds, lizards. He caught a rabbit one time, and he'd come bring them to me. Like, look what I got, Mom. He never killed them. He never killed them, but he would come bring them to me and drop them on my feet. I think the freakiest thing was he had caught a little baby desert rabbit when we lived in Phoenix and brought it in and dropped it on my feet. And of course, scared the hell out of me because suddenly I felt something soft and hairy jump off of my feet. And I looked down as this little rabbit and it starts running around the house. And I'm trying to catch the rabbit with the cat trying to stop me from catching the rabbit. And finally caught the rabbit, went and put it back outside. And then the cat got mad because I put his gift outside. So the poor little rabbit was just scared to death. So what are your, so folks know kind of when to try to catch you? You have Wednesday nights and Friday nights, right? That you do a live stream?
Well, I do a live stream normally on Friday nights.
Right.
If I need to accommodate a guest or if I do a special, I'll usually do that on a Wednesday. Now, the Bernadette, who has a show on my channel, she has her show at 8:00 on Thursday nights.
Okay.
So, but it, just those 2 shows, it keeps me busy. I mean,
I can imagine. I can imagine. Now, are you looking to expand that or get more people to come on and do another show? I mean, I'm not sure how your network is set up. I mean, is it just independent people running their YouTube channel under your banner, or
we split the proceeds? Yeah, we split the proceeds. We pay the bills, split the proceeds, and that's basically how we do it. But it's just 2 of us right now, and I don't know. We did have a third, but he left, and we had a third show, but we might have another one eventually. I'm just getting over all the surgeries and everything, so I kind of weaned off all of that for now. And when I start getting more energy I may expand upon it a bit.
Okay, well, I remembered you had put something out a while back about anyone interested in doing a show or being a guest or whatnot. I know I've told you several times, anytime you need somebody, just talk about psychic shit, give me a call.
Yeah.
I'm available. I know there are several others in the community that are kind of into the woo-woo, so to speak. So they would probably, love to get a tag to come on and read or talk about their gifts or whatever. I know you do more of the paranormal type stuff. I'm not sure about Bernadette. I don't catch her show, unfortunately. I'm usually watching AJ's show Thursday night at 8:00. So, but I remember her from, it's the same Bernadette, right? That y'all used to do show with from back in the day. I mean,
Bernadette's she's been part of the team now for about a year and a half.
About a year and a half. Okay.
Yeah.
Must be another person that has a similar name used to be with Eric. Used to
You're talking about Amy.
Amy, that's her name. I don't know why
Yeah.
Bernadette just kept it. That name just stuck with me.
Yeah, you're talking about Amy.
Okay. Oh, look, we got a question for you. Or maybe for me, who knows?
I have a small field in the back of my house for the past years. I noticed that deer family that would hang out stopped coming. I felt a presence back there. What is it? I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to pick up on it. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't.
I don't feel anything bad.
I don't know why I see Florida. I don't know where she lives at, but I'm getting a sense something about Florida and something about the some type of cypress or some type of forest that's near you, a state forest that's got cypress in it, a swampy area or something. But I don't know. Maybe
Northwest Pennsylvania. That's where she's at.
She's in Pennsylvania. Okay, well, that figures.
So there's no telling what it is.
Well, Northwest Pennsylvania.
Y'all don't have a lot of swampland up there, huh?
What county is she up near? Allegheny National Forest, or up near Erie, or where at?
The owner where she lives, I guess she rents from, lives in Florida.
Right. Yeah, I knew there was a Florida connection somewhere there.
See, so
I got a feeling she's in Erie. Okay, well,
Erie. Okay,
it may be somebody from his family that's back there.
Yeah, she's from Erie, Pennsylvania. She's near Erie. Yeah. I don't feel any bad energy. I'm not picking up much anything else, but I don't feel anything like bad. Maybe the deer family just doesn't want to share space. I mean,
well, that may be
that, they can be pretty skittish. I mean, I used to go deer hunting with my granddaddy when I was a little girl. I would never personally shot anything. I couldn't stand the thought of it, but I remember what it was like to go hang out in them deer blinds at 4 a.m. in the morning in the freezing cold. Only a 4-year-old would enjoy that.
Oh, absolutely.
But okay, I'm not seeing really anything else. And I don't know, my brain is blank. We're coming up on.
I will say before we close out that anybody has an encounter or sighting or wants to report anything, they can always get a hold of me at Lon Strickler, phantomsandmonsters.com.
Absolutely.
And
and if you lose that info, holler at me and I'll get in touch with them and let you know. Well, Lon, thank you. Yeah, because we're coming up on an hour and I know you're starting to drag and I'm starting to drag, and it's Saturday night. Yeah, it's been a busy day. Yeah. And thank you for coming back again. I do appreciate it.
No problem.
You're welcome back anytime. And like I said, I've got several folks that are really been trying to catch your shows, really interested. So they're into the paranormal and whatnot themselves. So, I'm hoping to get you a few new people over there and watching and giving you the support you need. And if all his contact information, everything on his channel, all that stuff's below in the description box. So you can find anything you need down there. And I guess we'll just say goodnight for now. It's been it's been nice to visit with you again. It's been a while. So I'm glad to know you're doing better, and
Yeah,
And
it's coming around.
you
I
had me
had
a
the
little worried for a while.
yeah. Well, I had the original. I had originally had surgery in late October. Then, because of that surgery, they found cancer in my lungs, so I had to have lung surgery into February. And I
Right.
am just really starting to heal with that. So yeah. So,
Yeah, and
but it's getting better.
it was right about a year ago when you were here last. You had just gone through your first surgery.
Yeah, that was about
So
6 months ago, 6 or 7 months ago.
yeah. And well, we're glad you're on the mend and you're healing. And thank you again for coming back and visiting with me. Like I said, you're welcome anytime. Y'all be sure you go check out phantomandmonsters.com, Phantoms and Monsters Radio on YouTube. He's got some really cool vids up that you can go watch, all kinds of topics, all kinds of subjects. Very interesting. And y'all have yourselves a wonderful night. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms tomorrow. And for all the moms for tomorrow, I should say. Tomorrow's Mother's
Mm-hmm.
Day. So I went and splurged on myself today. I went and got a pedicure. So tomorrow will be laundry and all the normal stuff. So I did extra stuff today. Thank y'all very much. Thank you for coming. And thank you again, Lon.
Okay.
And let me put on our outro clip and we will say goodnight for now. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.